guitars. Let's go build some junk. Alright, let me explain what I did so you didn't have to sit through it. I started with my straight edge to get the wedge that the neck blank would be if it was neck through. And then I put our two E strings about 1/8 of an inch inside of those. Then took a string spacing ruler and we found string spacing in a couple different places so we could run those through and get string spacing at the bridge where we want at the bridge. That was a tortured statement and I can't fix it. Okay, and then I looked at just putting this in place and eyeballing where the line from the 27-inch to the 25-inch intersects with the front of that little saddle piece. I marked a point in the center of the screw hole, and I did that over here, and then I connected those two so I can find the intersection between strings and scale length where I could decide to poke a hole for each of those bridge pieces, at least the front screw. So this is the actual scale length. This is where bridge pieces will get mounted. Now, I don't know how to compare this to any other headless hardware because I've never used any other headless hardware. This thing is a little crazy. Just the way this little saddle piece is, it seems for some reason, somehow, when it's placed in this slot with no real connection, it tends to grab and stay in place somehow. So adjusting that is going to be a giant pain in the ass. That'll take some time and effort. Meanwhile, it's got a little grub screw on the front, I'm assuming, to hold the saddle piece in place. This little thing actually comes out, and it has, you know, 2 screws so you can raise it. But kind of it seems to be a fairly simple little piece of work. So I think maybe it'll be good and solid. It's just like I said, adjusting it is not going to be a super simple thing to do most of the time, I suspect. Now, one of my complaints with this setup, like I said, this is the only piece, the only set of headless hardware I've ever put hands on, so I don't know how to compare it to other things. This one was relatively cheap off of Amazon. But I have 2 screw holes and I need screws for each of the headpiece, and they only sent me 6 screws. So I'm no, 12 screws when I need 18. They didn't give me enough. So anyway, I'm gonna make you watch all these. These guys sit a little high. I mean, we saw that from the test, but I didn't know if, you know, spread over the full scale, that little bit of height would, you know, kind of level out a little bit and not be as noticeable. But right now, it's really high action, like really high. So that needs to come, they need to come down like 1/8 of an inch. Another issue, the fact that these guys have a single little screw, it's kind of easy when trying to clamp those down for it to rotate a little. May not be the biggest problem in the world, but I foresee that being a bit of an issue. You know, having that little screw move all the time a little bit is not going to be a good thing. So, when it comes to the real deal, we got two options, of course. We could put a tiny bit of brake angle on this. I think the tolerance in these little saddles is, it requires a level of precision that I don't think would be very easy to hit from 27 inches away. The other option, of course, is to recess these a bit, and at least on our test piece, that is definitely what we're going to be doing. Meanwhile, the fact that we use slightly higher stainless steel for a 0 fret, holding down at the 3rd, there's just a tiny bit of play at the 1st, which is usually about, you know, perfect for how you would cut a nut. So I think that's going to be pretty well perfect. So I guess we need to see about recessing these bridge pieces a little bit. Alright, I've roughly drawn out what I want here. If everything works out, then when we come to do the real thing, we will probably build a template or something. Right now I'm just going to freehand this shit so we get it quick and dirty. Okay, they will fit. Well, I mean, it's functional. Now, when actually I didn't record it. When I recessed the bridge area, I carved a little bit of a radius into it, so I wouldn't have to raise these little saddles up, and it worked out really well. I think I did go just a tiny bit lower than I probably should have, so the action on it is pretty damn low, and it's extra low down on the low end. Concerns in moving on to a more real project. I'm not entirely sure I'm super impressed with the way these actually go, and you got to unscrew way the hell out of them to make sure that you have room to tune up. And I'm not entirely sure just how far I can back out without, you know, the damn thing falling off. Beyond that, I mean, the bridge pieces I think are probably alright. The saddles actually seem to be relatively, you know, a decent design. Recessing this into something in a way that looks a little nicer and more professional will be a bit of a trick, and I don't like the giant carve I had to do out of here to give me access to use the damn tuners. I'm not super excited about having a cutaway there either, so I need to consider what the hell I want to do with that. My other concern, these little head pieces, they're big and blocky. I mean, really, they just, it's so chunky. And I think I've talked about this before. The way things turned out, we had to be about a ½ inch behind the 0 fret. I really don't think that'd be a problem. I mean, you go bending and doing crazy stuff, and it's gonna come back. But even though it is stainless, limiting the motion there at the 0 fret would most likely be a good idea. So what I thought about, and we may go ahead and try that here just so we have an example, but I was thinking about, you know, moving it forward and recessing those a little bit as well, which I think might help stabilize things if we go with this anyway, because one of the things I noticed is once I've got these on there, now they have been on and off a couple times, but when I loosen the little grub screw to let the string come out, a lot of those, the screw has come a little bit loose, and those things have some play in them as well. And I kind of feel like they should be a little more solid. But one of the things that this little experiment has taught me is, in particular with these, with the bridge pieces too, it's kind of tricky to be really super precise in where you get the holes drilled for those screws. Like, I mean, I went entirely off of the string spacing lines that I had made, or at least, you know, that's what I really tried to do, and we wound up with these kind of clumped together. There's a little gap there, a huge gap there, and I don't know exactly where I failed. And with the bridge, these two don't have a whole lot of gap between them, and all the others kind of do. So I think they both just got a little bit inside where they should have been. I haven't checked intonation to make sure. I should probably play with that and see how much trouble it's going to be to actually get the damn thing set up. Before we move on to the main event, I think I'm going to look at the possibility of a higher quality headless set. Anyway, I am anxious to finally get moving on the real project and not just dinking around with this goofy thing, but I really want it to be perfect. It's got, we got to have all our ducks in a row first. So maybe I shouldn't have chosen a project that's full of things that I have never done before and don't know how. But where would be the fun in doing the same old, same old? Thanks for joining me. If you like what we're doing, if you're digging it, like and subscribe. Catch you next time.